FIFA's new revamped World Club Cup, which takes place next summer in the United States, has received a lot of backlash already, and given it's adding to an already congested fixture schedule for European clubs, hence last week's European court filing by the Players Union FIFPro and the European leagues. We all know that FIFA is doing this to maximise its commercial revenue and create a tournament that could be another cash cow outside of the World Cup. They need to diversify their income sphere. However, FIFA are undermining the quality of their own tournament by inviting teams that have won nothing, continentally speaking, that is. Case in point, Inter Miami. The David Beckham co-owned team from the MLS has, just so happens, won the MLS Supporters Shield. Now, I'll explain what that means in a moment. They do have a certain Argentine player called Lionel Messi play for them, who might be the best player in the world. But the reason for Inter Miami's inclusion is because they won the MLS Supporters Shield, which is given to the best team in the regular league season format of the competition with the best record. It does not, however, make Inter Miami national champions in any way, because they haven't been through the MLS playoffs to win the actual MLS title. Think of it like England's rugby league system. Super League, you've got the League Winners' Shield, the club that finishes top of the league, but they haven't won the Super League because they have to go through the playoffs for the game at Old Trafford where they will actually win the Super League title. It makes very little sense to invite Inter Miami on a competitive basis to participate in this tournament, which is meant to be continental champions going up against each other. It would have made much more sense to invite Columbus Crew, who were runners-up in the 2024 CONCACAF Champions Cup, which is their equivalent to our UEFA Champions League. Inter Miami have no continental pedigree at all. If you think I'm just picking on them, by the way, we're going to now switch from CONCACAF to UEFA, because there are teams from UEFA that shouldn't be there either. UEFA has far more teams going than any other federation, which is kind of how the World Cup works anyway, because UEFA by far are the biggest federation alongside South America's CONMEBOL. However, the teams that are invited from Europe include, of course, Champions League winners like Chelsea, Real Madrid, Manchester City, and Bayern München, although that's not why they've qualified. They've qualified based on coefficient rankings. Really, I'll give them a pass because they won the 2020 Champions League, the pandemic-era Champions League final. However, they have invited Champions League runners-up like Inter, Milan, PSG, Borussia Dortmund, Juventus, Atletico Madrid. For some reason, Porto are there, Benfica, and of course you remember the giants of European football when they won the Champions League, Red Bull Salzburg. No, I don't remember that happening either. Why are Red Bull Salzburg there? This is grinding my gears and turning into a rant. They had the opportunity to do something genuinely interesting. They had the chance to do something fascinating. Now, the reason why these teams are there is because of the UEFA 4-year ranking based on domestic performance and continental performance as well. So RB Salzburg always win the Austrian Bundesliga. That's just a given. Porto and Benfica are the two biggest clubs in Portugal and normally, historically were quite strong. Benfica especially in the Champions League, and of course Porto won it back in 2004. By that logic, Celtic should be there because they're a dominant force in Scottish football. But, I digress. FIFA had the opportunity to do something genuinely fascinating that would have actually made me want to watch this World Club Cup. I'm not interested in this tournament. I won't be watching it. It's a glorified pre-season tournament, and I think that's what the European teams will treat it as, but we'll get to that. They had the opportunity to do something genuinely fascinating. So instead of inviting Salzburg, Atletico Madrid, Juventus, Borussia Dortmund, Benfica, Porto, Inter, PSG, we're giving Bayern a pass because they won the 2020 Champions League. They had the opportunity to do something genuinely fascinating with those places. Why not have invited the winners of the Europa League and the Conference League to this tournament. I'm talking Olympiacos, Eintracht Frankfurt, West Ham United, Roma as well. Why not invite those teams? That would have made it much more interesting. And you can go a step further as well and invite the winners of the Copa Sudamericana, the secondary tournament for South America. That would have made it genuinely fascinating instead of having River Plate and Boca Juniors qualify based on a 4-year ranking cycle. You know, they were there because they're the two big clubs in Argentina, but it would have made far more sense to invite the winners of the Sudamericana instead. This competition, let's face it, is a joke. And unless the European clubs play their youth teams, then they'll probably win. Let's face it, I would rather a South American club won it, but you can't always get what you want, as the Rolling Stones once said. I don't know, maybe I'm strange because I don't want to see the biggest teams win all the competitions all the time, and I really don't want to watch Chelsea versus Real Madrid for like the millionth time, or Bayern Munich versus Porto, or Benfica versus Palmeiras or something like that. Although that match is actually a little bit more interesting than, say, Chelsea versus Palmeiras. I would rather have had Olympiacos versus Flamengo, or Auckland City versus Eintracht Frankfurt. That to me is actually a fascinating tournament where we have the secondary or the second tier or tertiary tier tournament winners compete against some of the best teams in the world. That would have been far more interesting to me than anything that FIFA has done with its Club World Cup. I don't know, maybe I'm strange in that sense. But the question falls to you now. Would you watch the Club World Cup in its current allotment of teams? Or would you, like me, have preferred FIFA to do something more radical, something more interesting to make this tournament far more fascinating to casual football fans and have included secondary and tertiary tournament winners in this Club World Cup? Let me know in the comment section down below. If you like this video, be sure to hit the subscribe button, give it a thumbs up as well, and hit the bell icon to be notified of all our latest videos. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to check out our website. It's deadair.media/sport for the latest football news. See you next time.